And again.
Where is she? You can't just drop off the face of the earth.
Or can you?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 20 people who disappeared and left behind creepy recordings.
Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented.
For this list, we're looking at terrifying photo, audio, or video recordings that were left behind following a person's disappearance. Which of these scares you the most? Let us know in the comments. Tiffany Witten.
Maybe she's out there. Maybe she can see this. And she will know that we love her, we want her home.
By the summer of 2013, Tiffany Witten was in a tough spot. She was recently fired from IHOP for stealing and her drug use. In the very early morning of September 13th, 2013, Witten arrived at a Walmart and was closely observed by security officers. They believed she was under the influence and stealing various items of clothing. They eventually confronted her at the exit, and this confrontation was captured by security cameras. The footage depicts Witten tossing away her handbag and sandals and fleeing out the door. This was the last anyone has seen of her.
The young mother was last year at this Walmart. Then after that, it was like she simply disappeared into thin air.
Many people suspect her boyfriend, Ashley Caudill, of foul play, but he has long proclaimed his innocence. Emma Philippoff. Just a few days before her disappearance, young Emma Philippoff was captured on camera at a Victoria, British Columbia YMCA. Philippoff was behaving in an erratic manner, repeatedly entering and exiting the building.
She goes in and out the door 6 times within minutes.
A few days later, cameras captured her at a 7-Eleven buying a prepaid cell phone. Shortly before exiting the store, Philippoff stops and scans the street outside, almost as if she's watching for someone.
What is out there? Is she hiding from someone? Or is it all in her mind?
On the evening of November 28, 2012, Philippoff disappeared from the Empress Hotel after speaking to the police. They had been called because Philippoff was walking around barefoot outside the hotel and was seemingly in distress. Her car was later found full of her personal belongings, and she has remained missing ever since. Sophia McKenna. You never know what you might be documenting on Snapchat. Sophia McKenna and Spencer Mugford were on the open water of Groton, Connecticut in the very early hours of May 27, 2018. Their trip was documented on Snapchat, with one picture showing McKenna at a lighthouse and another showing Mugford in the sailboat. Said boat was later found abandoned on New York's Truman's Beach. Nearly 2 weeks later, police recovered Mugford's body in Long Island Sound. McKenna's mother came forward, claiming that 7 calls had been made to her phone between 2:05 and 2:09 a.m.
They were from Mugford's phone. Sophia's phone was locked and in her car, parked at Avery Point.
McKenna is still missing, and the Snapchat photos serve as the only document of her final hours. Stephen Kutcher.
We knocked on the door, we had pictures of Stephen. Have you seen this person? Have you seen this person? And no one had seen him.
Shortly before his disappearance, Stephen Kutcher had driven throughout the states of Utah and Nevada for a still unknown reason. Around noon on December 13, 2009, Kutcher can be seen driving his car into a retirement community near Las Vegas. A few minutes later, someone can be seen walking out in the opposite direction. Kutcher's family believes it's him. He never returned to his car. Like his long car rides, no one knows why Kutcher was in Las Vegas, let alone that specific neighborhood.
Why? Where? What got you there? What happened? There's a lot. But the one question is, are you comfortable? Are you safe? Are you at peace?
Later that day, his cell phone pinged a tower located about 10 miles northeast of the retirement community. Kutcher remains missing, and he left behind a ton of confusing clues that have only served to frustrate investigators and family. Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Sometimes missing people are found, but not in the way we were hoping. Young teens Abigail Williams and Liberty German went for a hike on the afternoon of February 13, 2017. They failed to meet a scheduled pickup and were declared missing at 5:30 that evening. Tragically, their bodies were found the next day. German managed to capture some startling footage while on the hike. She took a picture of a Caucasian male walking towards the girls from the opposite direction, and this man would quickly become the prime suspect.
A sketch of the suspected killer was released in July of 2017, which was updated by police 2 years later.
Furthermore, German had secretly recorded the man on her phone, who can be heard saying, "down the hill." The implications of those words remain harrowing.
A male figure appears to follow the girls, then orders them down the hill.
Dale Kerstetter. This man disappeared from his place of work on the night of September 12, 1987. Kerstetter safely arrived for his night shift at Corning Glassworks, but when another employee arrived the next morning, all that was found was Kerstetter's abandoned belongings. His truck was also parked in the parking lot, and about $200,000 worth of platinum rods were missing from the factory. Shortly after his disappearance, the factory's security cameras were checked. In the footage, a masked man can be seen talking with Kerstetter before escorting him away, his hand directly behind his back.
First, I thought, well, obviously this person had been some foul play, deal with all the foul play, and he probably is missing.
It also discovered that this mysterious man had stolen the platinum rods from their kiln.
Then I was extremely anxious because at that time I realized that not only did we have a missing employee, there was a good possibility that we had missing platinum in the plant.
It's still unclear what exactly happened to Verstetter. Antoinette Cayedito. The mother of Antoinette Cayedito faced every parent's greatest fear. On the morning of April 6, 1986, she went to wake 9-year-old Antoinette only to find an empty bed.
I didn't start panicking until we checked with all the neighbors, went to every house, and nobody had no sight seen of her.
The police were immediately called, but nothing came of the investigation. The Gallup Police Department received a horrifying phone call 1 year after Cayedito disappeared. The frantic caller claimed to be Cayedito, and this was confirmed by her mother, who claims to have recognized her daughter's voice. Before Cayedito could tell the police anything, an adult could be heard yelling in the background, and the call was prematurely cut amid the sounds of the girl screaming.
Where are you?
While the case technically remains open, experts believe that Cayedito is deceased. Patricia Meehan. The day before she disappeared, Montana ranch hand Patricia Meehan phoned her father and sounded distressed, telling him that she wanted to come home to Pittsburgh.
More than anything else in the world, I want her back with us. We didn't know that she'd be safe.
Her landlord also noticed that she was acting funny. On the night of April 20th, 1989, Meehan crashed her car on Montana Highway 200. Eyewitnesses reported that she behaved strangely. Meehan approached the driver of the other car without saying anything. She later moved to the side of the road and silently observed the wreck before wandering into a nearby field.
We didn't know what was out there. We didn't know what we were looking for. Hurt person, sick person, or a fugitive.
Meehan left behind an undeveloped camera, and one of the photos was a creepy selfie that showed an expressionless Meehan staring into a mirror. Multiple witnesses have reported seeing Meehan in the years following, but she officially remains missing. Elaine Park. On February 2nd, 2017, Elaine Park's abandoned Honda Civic was found on the side of the road in Malibu.
Police say it's not like Park to go missing, so they are concerned.
All of her belongings were inside. The battery was dead, and the keys were still in the ignition. Law enforcement believes that she wandered into the nearby ocean to take her own life, but her family doesn't subscribe to that narrative. Park's boyfriend was the last person to see her.
He said she just kind of got up and seemed stressed and left. He said that she didn't really explain herself in terms of, why she got up and left so suddenly.
She slept at his place on the night of January 27th, and he told investigators that she had suffered a panic attack at about 4 a.m. 2 hours later, Park was captured on home security footage walking to her car, the same car that would be found abandoned just a few days later. Susan Powell. The Salt Lake Tribune uploaded a video to YouTube in May of 2013. It depicts a woman named Susan Powell documenting the expensive assets in her home in the event that, quote, something happens to her.
If everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
She allegedly did so on the advice of her attorney. Viewers take notice of Powell's demeanor, which many claim is anxious, depressed, and generally defeated. This video was captured a year and a half before she disappeared in December of 2009. Powell technically remains missing, but many suspect her husband Joshua.
Believe that Josh maybe put Susan in the mine, lit her on fire and sent her down in the mine, and then have come back maybe a number of times to push soil and debris on top of her so that it would discourage people from finding her.
A few years after Powell disappeared, Joshua lost custody of their children to Powell's parents and subsequently took the children's lives and his own. Lars Mittank. The case of Lars Mittank is as mysterious as it is unnerving. The 28-year-old German man was vacationing in Bulgaria with friends when he got into a physical altercation with some strangers over football. Mittank suffered a ruptured eardrum, which prevented him from flying home. With his friends gone, he began to act erratically. His odd behavior was captured on the hotel's CCTV. He reportedly called his mother and told her that 4 men were out to kill him. Mittank was last seen on CCTV fleeing Varna Airport and running into a nearby field. He hasn't been seen or heard from since, and the reason for his sudden paranoia remains unknown. Brandon Lawson. On the night of August 9th, 2013, Brandon Lawson got into an argument with his partner Ledessa Lofton and left home just before midnight. Soon after, he called his brother Kyle, saying that he was being chased out of town and had run out of gas. Kyle worried that his brother, who was involved in drugs, was tripping. But following that, Lawson made an eerie call to 911, saying that he was being chased into the woods.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. It's like we're just searching guys over. Out here going towards that on both sides. Not running out of gas. There's one more here. I take it to the woods.
When Kyle and the police arrived on the scene, Brandon's truck was abandoned. Kyle's girlfriend Audrey reportedly received a call from Brandon, who said that he was just up the road and bleeding. However, he was never seen or heard from again. Corey McKeague. On September 23, 2016, RAF Regiment gunner Corey McKeague went drinking with some friends in Suffolk, England. At 3:25 the next morning, McKeague was spotted on CCTV entering the cul-de-sac of Brandbobble Street, an area that contained several wheelie bins. He never left the cul-de-sac. McKeague failed to report for work the following Monday, instigating a missing persons case. His phone was eventually tracked to a landfill, and while extensive searches were undertaken, nothing conclusive was found. The prevailing theory is that a drunk McKeague fell asleep inside a wheelie bin and was crushed by a garbage truck. His remains may have been accidentally incinerated at the landfill, but this theory is contested by many, including McKeague's mother.
So my absolute plea is somebody in the public does know something. They need to give the police that information so that the police have got somewhere to start looking for Corey.
Claudia Lawrence. On the night of March 18, 2009, Lawrence returned home from work and sent a text to a friend at 8:23 p.m. This would be the last time anyone heard from her.
All of a sudden, she wasn't there. It eats into you, literally eats into you all the time. And that's the not knowing what's happened. And it carries on and on and on and on.
CCTV footage was found showing a light-colored Ford Focus driving down the road the morning of March 19th and braking outside Lawrence's house. Despite years of investigation, the case went cold until 2013, when the new Major Crime Unit was unveiled.
It was a good feeling that you had very experienced officers going over the whole thing again.
They found that Lawrence's cell phone was mysteriously turned off the day after her disappearance, and unidentified fingerprints were found in her house.
I think we're encouraged by the fact that something is happening after a rather long period of nothing happening. The police have got a lot of work to do. They've been doing a lot of work, and that's good news.
Several people have been arrested under suspicion of murder, but a lack of evidence and cooperation from witnesses have prevented any charges from being laid. Amber Tuckerow. This 20-year-old woman from Alberta's Mikisew Cree First Nation was last seen just outside Edmonton on August 18, 2010. She got a ride into Edmonton from an unknown male and was never seen again. 2 years after her disappearance, a cell phone recording was released of Tuckerow speaking with the man, and she can be heard adamantly questioning his directions and their true destination.
You better not be taking me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. No, we're not going in the city, are we? No, we're not.
Just 4 days after the recording was released, police found Tuckerow's skull in a farmer's field.
And their search for the voice intensified. RCMP say they've received hundreds of tips, but the identity of the man behind the voice remains a mystery.
The investigative work behind her disappearance has been highly criticized, and the Alberta RCMP even apologized to Tuckerow's family. The apology was fiercely rejected.
I fully acknowledge that in the early days of our investigation into Amber's disappearance, that it required a better sense of urgency and care.
Kenny Beach. In 2014, hiker Kenny Beach left a comment on a YouTube video in which he explained coming across a creepy M-shaped cave in the desert and fleeing in terror.
And something about that cave just spooked me. Out of all the caves I've ever gone in, this one just made my body vibrate.
Eager YouTube commenters encouraged Beach to return and document his experiences. And while he did so, he failed to find the cave. But he did come across an abandoned mine shaft.
It goes way, way, way down there. Let me see if I can. That's pretty far.
Disappointed viewers urged Beach to try again. He set out once more, never to return. His phone was eventually found outside the very mine shaft that was recorded in his previous video. A woman claiming to be his girlfriend later commented on the video, stating her belief that Beach had taken his own life and left his phone behind so as not to be tracked.
And that is it. We'll see you later, tortoise.
Trevor Deely. On December 7th, 2000, 22-year-old IT worker Trevor Deely was attending a work Christmas party at a nightclub in Dublin.
So as he left the club, Trevor was in control of himself. The question is, did he come across someone later who was to become instrumental in his disappearance?
Deely left the club at 3:25 in the morning and stopped at work, where he briefly spoke to a mysterious man in black outside the business gates.
So who is he? And is it possible he followed Trevor after this? Even in this grainy state, this footage may hold the key to unlocking the mystery of what happened to Trevor.
At 4:14 after leaving work, Deely was spotted walking home on CCTV footage, with a man in black following roughly 30 seconds behind.
It's this man here I believe we should be focusing on, captured on camera less than 30 seconds after Trevor. Is he the same man Trevor met outside his office minutes earlier?
Police believe this is the same man who spoke to Deely. Unfortunately, that was the last known recording of Deely, and the case has since gone cold. The man remains unidentified, and no one knows what was discussed or why Deely was seemingly followed. Brian Schaefer. In 2006, Schaefer was a medical student at Ohio State. On the night of March 31st, Schaefer and his friend William Florence went bar hopping to celebrate spring break. Sometime during the night, however, Schaefer disappeared.
1 minute, this young man was a grainy image on a surveillance video. The next minute, he was gone. And police are back.
Police reviewed CCTV footage outside the Ugly Tuna Saloon, which showed Schaefer talking with two women. He left them and walked towards the bar, but wasn't reported ever leaving.
We see Brian go back off the camera, and we're unable to locate him leaving the building.
Every exit is covered by a camera. Brian is never caught on camera leaving the bar.
This was the only known publicly accessible entrance and exit, leaving investigators puzzled. It's possible that the constantly panning and manually operated cameras just missed him. William Florence has refused to take a lie detector test, leading people close to Schaefer to suspect his involvement. Some believe that Schaefer is dead, while others think he ran off to live under a new identity.
Foul play has never been ruled out, nor has the fact that Brian maybe just took off. The stresses of life, med school, and losing a mother to cancer.
Henry McCabe. On the morning of September 7th, 2015, Corinne McCabe received a horrifying voicemail from her husband Henry. It features what sounds like menacing growls and human moaning before a voice is heard saying, "Stop it." Henry McCabe was quickly declared a missing person. The last person to see him alive told investigators that he dropped off McCabe at a convenience store following a night of partying. McCabe remained missing for over 2 months until his body was found in a lake roughly 6 miles from the convenience store. The weird thing is that the medical examiner found no apparent injuries on McCabe's body, leading many to question the source and reasoning for the eerie sounds captured on voicemail.
I try to picture where he was, what it might have been like, what circumstances would have made him sound like that.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Chris Kramers and Lisanna Froome. These two young Dutch students set off on a hike in Panama on April 1st, 2014. With them was a dog that belonged to restaurant owners they'd befriended, but the dog returned alone. 10 weeks later, Froome's backpack was discovered by a riverbank with her camera and both women's phones. Both had tried to call emergency services on the first day of the hike. A few days later, Froome's phone died, and someone entered false PIN codes into Kramer's phone. More attempts to call emergency services followed. The digital camera contained photos of their hike, but also 90 flash photos from the pitch black morning of April 8th, one showing the back of Kramer's head. Sadly, the women's bones were later found scattered along the riverbank. It remains a tragic and baffling mystery to this day. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo, and be